It is a great pleasure to have you all tune in today to this very important event. My name is Professor Francis Zotor. Thank you for taking part in this AfriCAN webinar. We look forward to a robust and interactive session today. But before the whole session starts, I want to give you a quick reminder that everything you might need related to this event can be found on the AfriCAN website at our AfriCAN network organization. Now, before we take the conversation forward, I have a few technical announcements to ensure that our experience is smooth and interactive as possible. First, this webinar will be recorded and posted on the AfriCAN website. Secondly, all participants have been muted, but please introduce yourself using the chat function. Let us know your name, where you are joining us from, and the organization you work with. You can access the chat box by clicking the chat button at the bottom of your Zoom window. Later in the session, we will open up the conversation for a question and answer session. And if you have some questions, we invite you to share them in the chat box throughout the session. And we'll do our best to raise them during the question and answer session. If we have time, we may have participants raise their hands so we can call on you so you can speak your questions aloud. Now, we also want to introduce you to the Nutrition and Health Academy. Now, this is a global community of interdisciplinary researchers, practitioners, and policymakers working on agriculture and food systems for improved nutrition and health. Now, the ANH has about 6,000 members in 145 countries, with over 60% of whom are in Africa or Asia. The ANH aims to convene diverse actors to facilitate learning and sharing, strengthen the capacity of the research community to undertake intersectorial and interdisciplinary research and facilitate the uptake of robust evidence in policies and programming in agriculture and food systems for improved nutrition and health. Any researcher, policymaker, or practitioner working in the intersection of agriculture and food systems, nutrition, and/or health can become a member of the Academy, which is free of charge. Now, the ANH is looking forward to host its 7th annual conference this year online in the southern part of Africa from the 20th to the 30th of June. And the program is packed with all kinds of content, from interactive learning sessions, learning labs with world experts and keynote speakers, to abstract-driven thematic sessions and plenary discussions. And this is free to attend as well. Now, there are various other things that the ANH does offer, which you can find on the website. Now, what I would want to do without wasting much time, as the moderator today, is to give an opportunity for us to have our welcome remarks. Now, today's event will be chaired by Dr. Namanga Ngongi. He was the former World Food Programme Deputy Executive Director, the former chair of the UN Standing Committee on Nutrition, and the board chair of AfriCAN. Dr. Ngongi, you have the floor to give your welcome remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the moderator. I should warn you that my connection is very bad. So if I drop off at any time, my little statement is with Aisatu. She's empowered by, if I has all the authority to read it on my behalf, if I cannot go through. Okay. A happy Africa Day to everyone participating in this luncheon. It is my great pleasure Sorry, I was off. Am I audible now? Hello?
Yep, you're back.
So can I continue?
Yes, please.
Okay. It is a pleasure and honor for me to welcome all participants and my co-board members to this event. Your presence is in itself an indicator of the importance that is attached to the issues of nutrition or malnutrition that affect a large segment of Africa's population. Africa faces many challenges, but none is more important than malnutrition. Many efforts have been made, resolutions taken, and targets set by the international community. African governments have prioritized actions to address food insecurity and malnutrition, and the African Union has set continental targets, but we are still not where we should be. Africa made progress in addressing food insecurity and malnutrition up to about 2014, but this trend has been checked, and the numbers affected are now increasing. 21% of Africa's population faced hunger in 2020, and 282 million were undernourished, 46 million more than in 2019. Women and children are most seriously affected. Now, sorry, I have a glitch on, okay, I'm more seriously affected by the malnutrition. COVID-19 and the war raging in Ukraine have made the situation even worse, because 30% of Africa's children are stunted and 40% of childbearing age women are suffering from anemia. As we speak, the East Africa region and the Horn of Africa in particular is facing food insecurity and nutrition challenges that are very serious. Concerted actions are needed to save lives. There are many factors that impact on food security and nutrition, such as drought, floods, civil strife, displacement and migration, poor sanitary conditions, including with access to potable water, and poverty. And challenges that make action on nutrition difficult. Nutrition is multi-sectoral and needs coordination at several levels, at international, national, and community. And this is very difficult, given the many different players and agendas, such as Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health, Education, Social Welfare, and those responsible for disaster response and management. However, the level where coordinated action is badly needed is at the community. This is where decisions taken at international, national, and regional levels need to be translated into concrete actions that impact on lives. AfriCAN has identified the community as its main area of focus. AfriCAN will work with many partners to catalyze action at community level, drawing from local knowledge and resources and rely on local structures for sustainability. Knowledge exchange, technical and financial support from partners and Africans in diaspora will be critical. National governments and institutions responsible for nutrition programs will have to pay more attention and facilitate actions by the many actors in communities. This launching will generate ideas and provide guidance that will empower Africa as it seeks to work with the many partners already engaged in the effort to improve the nutritional status of Africa's population, not just to meet continental and international targets, but to improve the quality of lives of millions of Africans, especially women and children, and save lives. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ngongi, for your welcome remarks. Without wasting much time, I would want to let you know who the next speaker will be. Now, most of you at this stage are wondering what AfriCAN is all about. In the next 15 minutes, you will gain an understanding on what the objectives of this great movement is all about and the role they'll be playing. I want to give the opportunity to Ms. Madame Aissatou Diallo, who is the Executive Director of AfriCAN. Aissatou, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Francis. Can I get my slides, please? Or maybe I can just clear them myself. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay. I'm presenting AfriCAN, and it's my pride, joy, and honor to be presenting AfriCAN. Have you ever heard of a pregnancy that lasted for several years? Well, this is it. And a pregnancy that was not only, that had several mothers, including male mothers. We met and talked a long time ago, and we've been talking ever since. From Zimbabwe, Julia Tagriwhi, from Ghana, Francis Zotto, myself. And I recall Julia called us the nutrition warriors. I don't know how much of warriors we were, but we were indeed fighting for nutrition. So we talked about the situation, and we talked about how difficult the situation was and how we couldn't make much progress due to several factors. Can you hang on a second? I just need to
Share the screen.
share the screen. Yeah. Can you bear with me a minute, please? You have a slight technical problem. Bear with me. Can you let me in, please? Can you show my slides? Can you show my slides? Because I can't show my slides.
Please try now.
Okay. So. Sorry, everyone. I hope this was worth waiting for. Okay. So presenting AfriCAN, I was saying how we talked about the situation and we talked over the situation. And we all agreed that something needed to be done. There was so much already being done, but what could we do from our end? And that's how the idea of AfriCAN came about. And right from the very start, I have to ask everyone to focus on the name AfriCAN, Africa Catalyzing Action for Nutrition, which means that we are not implementing, we are catalyzing, we're here to catalyze action because there's so much work already being done that we need to catalyze and not go out there and implement, but to support those who are implementing. Now, we considered nutrition as a puzzle in Africa. Why is it that the situation, though improving, is still moving at too slow a pace? Which pieces have we overlooked? Because there must be something that we're overlooking. Because nutrition interventions, I have been the head of a nutrition unit, I've been the executive director of a national agency. And the situation, I'm sorry, I have a technical problem. Can you hear me? Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you press the slideshow button at the top for us, please?
Can you see the slide now?
We can see them, they're not in presentation mode. That's it. Perfect, thank you.
Okay, I'm so sorry, yeah. So, okay, so we are at this stage of the nutrition puzzle, and we are asking, which pieces have we overlooked? And we realize that we have really overlooked the resources we have in Africa. And most importantly, we have overlooked Africa's greatest resource, its people. We have the enabling policy environment now, because that's something that nutritionists have complained over the years, the lack of political will. But now we have the political will and commitment. So why do we still have the nutrition puzzle? So, but we looked at it this way. There is political will and commitment, but what about the people's will and commitment? Because political will and commitment without the people's will and commitment cannot be sustained. And that's where we come in as AfriCAN. So our focus is on the people's will. AfriCAN is focusing on the people's will to see how we can move the nutrition agenda forward. And that's where demystifying nutrition comes in. What does it mean to demystify nutrition? As nutritionists, we talk to each other. I've been in situations, parties, etc., and someone comes to me and say and ask me, "Oh, nutritionist, what am I supposed to eat today?" And my standard response has been everything in moderation. But they're asking me that question because everything about nutrition is seen from the perspective of nutrients. Nutrition is much more than nutrients. Nutrition is food, nutrition is culture, nutrition is tradition, nutrition is love, well-being, everything. So we have to move away from nutrition as it is perceived as nutrients only. So our focus on the people's will be to unpack nutrition with the support of everyone, because we are all involved in this. How do we demystify nutrition? How do we unpack nutrition and make everyone understand that nutrition is much more than nutrients? So we also decided as AfriCAN to look at resources. When we talk about resources, lack of resources, we tend to focus on funding, which is critical. Funds are important. Funding is important. We still need those resources. Our nutrition units need more investments from governments and any other partner who's interested in supporting our nutrition agenda. But as AfriCAN, we looked at it differently. That resources, we have not looked at the resources from within the continent. We are too busy looking outside of the box, not knowing that there's so much inside the box that is in our possession and that we can look at for the resources we need to move the nutrition agenda forward. So what are these resources? Let's look at local and traditional knowledge, skills, and practices. That's a resource that is underutilized, and in some cases even untapped in our fight against malnutrition. What about our indigenous crops, fruits and vegetables? Our innovative youth population, they are a resource. They are bolder than us. They are go-getters. Have we given them the situation as it is and asked them to come up with solutions? They are an underutilized resource. Our media, they are also an underutilized resource because it's much more than reporting. It's about informing and educating. So they are an underutilized resource. We have a growing and vibrant private sector in Africa. Are we really utilizing them to join in this fight against malnutrition, or to ask them to join us to move the nutrition agenda forward? Academia and research institutions are there as well as an untapped or underutilized resource. Now, the one thing that we as AfriCAN emphasized and focused on, the diverse technical capacities and skills within the continent and in the diaspora. Because nutrition is much more than just health and agriculture. Nutrition cuts across sectors, and we need all the diverse technical capacities and skills on the continent and in the diaspora to address the nutrition situation. So this is one of our greatest resources, and we believe that it is an untapped resource. Now, I'm sure many will be saying, you talked about the youth, what about the women? And I want us to turn this around. We all say women are the key to food security and nutrition. Let's give them the resources and food security and nutrition will improve. But women should not only be seen as key to food security and nutrition through their multiple roles, including productive and reproductive. But let's look at this differently. Women are the key to sustainable development through their improved nutrition, health, and well-being along the life cycle. So rather than waiting to get from women as the key to food security and nutrition, we should invest in women as the key to sustainable development. Let's invest in the improved nutrition, health, and well-being along the life cycle. And why are we saying this? A reminder of priorities. This is the malnutrition cycle. And many of you already know the malnutrition cycle. From the baby infancy, where poor nutrition will impact mental development, will impact mortality rate, and will increase the risk of adult chronic diseases, lifestyle diseases, diabetes, hypertension, etc. And we come to the childhood. From there, we come to the adolescent. From there, we come to the woman, the young woman during pregnancy, during lactation, and even to the elderly. And why is it so important to include the elderly in the malnutrition cycle? In the African context, who takes care of the children when the mother is out working? Is the grandmother. And yes, the grandfather as well. So this is the life cycle approach which AfriCAN is targeting. So what is our mission? Our vision is a healthy and well-nourished Africa. And we got this from the Africa Agenda 2063, where goal number 3 is a healthy and well-nourished citizens. But we said to ourselves, Africa Agenda 2063, that's 2063. I hope I'll still be here. But right now, as AfriCAN, we're talking about 2022, right here and now. And the goal of Africa Agenda 2063 has become the vision for AfriCAN, a healthy and well-nourished Africa. And our mission is to mobilize and harness Africa's untapped and underutilized resources towards improving nutrition sustainably on the continent, which means that the nutrition interventions that are happening today, we support them. But in order to improve nutrition sustainably on the continent, we need to look at resources from within Africa. And what is our goal? As has already been mentioned by Namanga, we are targeting communities, and our goal is nutrition literate communities with the knowledge, skills, and the will to improve their nutrition situation individually and collectively. And note the emphasis on individually. And our approach as a catalyst is to inform, educate, advocate, and inspire action and accountability for nutrition outcomes at the individual, household, and community levels. Now, our call for action to policymakers is to deliver on the promise. When you make commitments, when you sign declarations, you're making a promise to the African population. So we're asking them to deliver on the promise. We're asking our communities to claim the promise and play their part in identifying and employing local solutions to improve their own nutrition. And this is where we come again to demystifying nutrition. How do we expect communities to claim the promise when nutrition hasn't been demystified? Where are the declarations and the commitments? Have they been translated for the communities to understand? What is nutrition all about? Has it been presented in a way that communities can claim it and know that they can control, they have control over their own nutrition situation in addition to the policies, in addition to what the service providers are implementing as interventions? Call to action to the youth to engage and innovate for sustainable nutrition solutions. And we're calling out to the youth. We want them to be engaged and to innovate. We want the media to use their platform to inform and educate on nutrition. And we'll be hearing more about that from the expert that's coming later on today. The private sector, we're calling on the private sector to act and or support actions to prevent malnutrition in all its forms, starting with their own employees. And for the private sector also, we understand it's about business. We understand it's about profit, and we respect that. But it's also, we also say profit with a conscience. Profit with a conscience, let me repeat that, to the private sector. And to academia and research institutions, we're calling them to inform policy and action by incorporating nutrition in their agendas. And let me go back to one of the statements of the Millennium Development Project Hunger Task Force report from 2005, which says, scientific academies have given too little attention to the review, validation, and documentation of local practices and their incorporation into relevant development policies. And this is one of the things we are calling out to our academia and research institutions to take note of local practices, local knowledge, and see how that can be used to provide the evidence base for policy and action. Now, this is what AfriCAN is also all about. It's not about going out to give nutrition education to people over there. Talking to some young people, I was asked, how can I write a proposal so that I can go out there and conduct nutrition education in the communities? My response was, look at yourself in the mirror. Good nutrition starts with the individual. What AfriCAN is saying, good nutrition starts with me. As an individual, my personal nutrition. As a young person, as a youth, my nutrition. As a politician, as a teacher, as a media personnel, as a farmer, as a lawyer, and the list goes on. And for all of you out there, insert your profession in there. It starts with you. From the individual, to the household, to the community, to the nation, and eventually the entire continent. And this is what AfriCAN is all about. And then to say also as AfriCAN, I've said it earlier, I'm going to repeat this, I'm going to emphasize this. It's Africa catalyzing action for nutrition. It's not AfriCAN going out there to implement. We will work with those that implement. We're catalyzing action. We will not duplicate efforts. We will work with everyone and we will build on what already exists, because that's the only way we can move forward. So we are asking you to join us as we work on our program of work and donate your technical capacities to AfriCAN. And finally, as part of AfriCAN, we have established a platform that we call Under the Baobab Tree. We all know how important the baobab tree is to Africa. So this is going to be a platform where we'll use to discuss, probably argue, reach a consensus, and move forward. Just like our elders would sit under the baobab tree to discuss and make important decisions for entire communities. I'm not saying we're going to make decisions for the entire African continent, but this baobab tree, under the baobab tree, is for all of us to come there and together, work together, make decisions, collaborate, coordinate, advocate, and move forward. And hopefully, we will achieve our vision of a healthy and well-nourished Africa. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Aissatou. Very inspiring. Very, very inspiring presentation. Now you've given us an understanding of what AfriCAN is and what they stand for. And I can see personally that the sleeping giant is waking up to make a difference in our circumference of influence. There is a call for you to rise up and add your voice, that the reason why you came into time, you can make a difference. But before I stop and go on to my rantings, today, we're hearing from experts from different areas, not necessarily nutrition, what their perspectives of AfriCAN is and what AfriCAN should be doing achieve its set objectives in addressing the nutrition agenda. I wouldn't want to waste time. I want to call on Dr. Charity Binka, who is the Executive Director for Women, Media, and Change. Now, the question I want to ask you is, Aissatou has just talked about the media as an underutilized resource. What do you think the role of the media should be in informing and educating the general population on nutrition matters? Also, how do you think the media can be utilized better in our fight against hunger and malnutrition to move the nutrition agenda forward?
Thank you very much, Dr. Azoto, Professor Azoto. It's really very exciting to be talking about the media today because the media is so important. And in fact, I want to agree with you that the media has been underutilized. Yes, in pushing the nutrition agenda. The media, as we all know, has a great potential to boost the efforts of stakeholders in scaling up nutrition. But I see the media as a missing link in all the efforts that we are making towards ending hunger in Africa. Because Africa, when I listened to the chair of the board, he talked about over 200 million Africans hungry. And I'm asking myself, what is wrong with us in Africa? We have all the resources. Why are we still hungry? How are our children still malnourished? These are the issues that I really want us to push in the media. And that is why I think I want to congratulate AfriCAN for bringing the media at a very early stage of this whole agenda of making sure that indeed Africans do not get hungry, our children do not die of hunger and disease and all that because of the kind of food we eat or the lack of it. Research has shown that the media, many people in Africa rely, maybe elsewhere in the world, rely on the media for information, particularly on their health. So if we do not talk to the media, we do not involve them, then neither we are still talking to ourselves. Then because the media has the potential to reach many people. So what the question you asked me, what can the media do? I think that the media can use its platform, as the executive director said earlier, to push the nutrition agenda. The media can create awareness or can raise awareness and communicate messages around good nutrition and lifestyle and healthy diets. Because today in Africa, many people are abandoning rich food that we know, which are very nutritious and healthy, and are eating different types of food that is causing a lot of lifestyle diseases. People are dying needlessly. There's so much, we lack so much information, and the media must step in and help the nutritionists to push this agenda. I also think that if the media can play its advocacy role effectively, it will ensure that nutrition remains very high on the political agenda. The media can pressure governments to make the right policies on nutrition, not only make the policies, but also make sure that they implement them, because they ask them, you said this, what have you done about it? I also think that the media can be the bridge between researchers, policymakers, and communities. What the researchers are doing, what they are finding out, link it up with as the policymakers draw their attention to these findings and ask them what they can do about it and what they are doing about it, and get communities to know what they are doing wrong in terms of what they eat, how they eat, where they eat, when they eat, what kind of farming practices they are undertaking that's affecting the rich food that we know that in our communities. I also think that if the media provides the right information to communities or community members, they will be able to, they will be empowered to claim their promises from the duty bearers, as the executive director said in her presentation. There are people, so many promises have been made over the years. And by our government, our leaders, what have they done with these promises? We need to the community members can ask relevant questions and get answers to them. I think that one of the crucial roles the media can play is ensuring accountability. I read about the Malabo Declaration and all that. We are saying that we'll end hunger by 2025. We are just three years away from that. Is there any sign at all that this will be achieved? No. And therefore, the media must discuss this, must bring this back to the fore. I also found out from my research that as far back as 2003, governments of Africa have started making all kinds of declarations, or they made several declarations which they never fulfilled. We need to talk about that. We need to question that. The media has the power to do so, question them. I also think that the media has the power to ensure accountability, ensure that service providers account for what they do, what they have been trained to do, how they are doing it. Look, if you're looking at the health facilities, how much attention do they pay to nutrition? The media can unravel this. The media can ask the relevant questions and bring these issues to the fore. I also think that the media has the power to ask the right questions, ask researchers the right questions. Ask them. You put so much money into research or studies. What do you do with the findings? How do these findings inform policy? Whom are you talking to? Are you using these findings just to write papers and get more grants and maybe more titles, professors, doctors? Or you are using this policy, you are using these findings, you are disseminating information so that policies can be made and the right people can make informed choices about their health. And I think that is very important. The media can also question community members, ask them about their nutrition practices. What are they eating? How are they eating? How do they eat their food? How do they prepare their food? Farmers, in particular, I've been reading in the papers about how some people are using disinfectants to spray their farm, the vegetables. We need to question them. Is it out of ignorance, or is it out of is it a criminal intent to do so? People selling by dirty gutters with flies all over. Community, we see, even though we are asking government to make sure they redeem their promises, I also believe that communities also have a role to play to make sure that we have good nutrition in Africa. And the journalists can engage them through radio, through television, through community centers, all the things that are opportunities that are available. So the media can use all these channels. We have no excuse, because today we have community radio stations that use the vernacular. People can walk into these radio stations and express themselves. They can also listen and they can ask questions, relevant questions. So I believe that the media has a crucial role. But I also believe that the working with the media is a two-way affair. And if Africans want to really use the media effectively, they have to have a media plan. How do we want to use the media to work for us to achieve our set goals? I believe the first thing that African can do is to, for instance, identify journalists that they can build their capacity to report on nutrition. We have been too silent on nutrition for too long. And the silence is deafening. So we need to talk about that. The media, African, can also institute some kind of award scheme for journalists to motivate them so that they can continue to write about nutrition. It will not be just a one-day affair. It can be done. Others have done it. In fact, I read that some other institutions, scaling up nutrition, they've already started this kind of initiative. These are good practices that we can leverage on, learn from, and even use it, better use those experiences to our advantage as Africa. I also think that documentation of good practice is very key. There are so many good practices already on that we can pull all these together and prove to people that it can be done. And this, we should have newsletters. We can have a newsletter, we can have magazine that we can even publish every year as a AfriCAN. I think it's doable. And I want to suggest a name for the magazine. I want to call it Eyes on Nutrition. I believe strongly that if we all were together, the media, AfriCAN, and all the partners together, if we work together, we will find the pieces and put the puzzle together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Binka. Very inspiring. And you have indeed given me food thought. Eyes on nutrition. Wonderful. I also know that the youth have got a crucial role to play in addressing nutrition on the continent. You are the future, and you have got to make a difference. Now, I have here with me Mr. Sheikh Tijan Tukara. He is a youth and community activist. Now, tell us, Tijan, as a youth and community activist, how can you inspire the youth to take up their role and play their part in addressing the nutrition challenges on our continent? Remember, the future belongs to you.
Thank you very much. This is a great question indeed. The youth indeed have a crucial role in pushing the nutrition agenda forward. The world today has the largest population of youth in history. According to Boyajo, it is estimated that by 2030, young Africans will make up to 35% of the world youth. And 75% of those living under the age of 35 live in Africa. We need policies that will focus on inclusive youth advancement and also create opportunities for their development. An important element of youth engagement is creating opportunities for the youth to express themselves, voice their ideas, and provide inputs for projects and programs relating to malnutrition. The Malabo Declaration of 2014 indicated that African leaders committed to ending hunger and reducing stunting to 10% by 2025. We are not likely to achieve this target. First of all, let's ask ourselves, why Africa is making slow progress when it comes to solving nutrition challenges in the continent, a continent that has a youthful population. This is a resource and an opportunity that has long been undermined by our leaders. Young people should be seen as assets rather than problems to be solved. Knowing what I know now about nutrition and its implications for my health has strengthened my capacity to make sure I advocate for nutrition and also engage hundreds of youth to hear their thoughts in various issues regarding nutrition in the continent. The current youth is more service-oriented and eager to have a mark leave behind them. People who want to make a difference in their communities. I am pleased that AfriCAN is tapping into these resources to achieve a mission that is a healthy and well-nourished Africa. I believe strongly that this can be achieved in our time. In our country, the Gambia, we have a sizable proportion of a young population, a country with around 55% of the population are youth. There are many young people who are working in the development of bringing solutions to our problems that our society is facing, including malnutrition and food insecurity. AfriCAN, as a catalyzing body, working with these youth networks throughout the continent, can help contribute for our development. I did a research on the impact of agricultural value addition on the economic performance of the Gambia. My research shows that there is a strong strong positive relationship between agricultural value addition and economic growth. The result obtained indicated that every step towards the provision of agricultural value addition will add up our GDP by 22.4% for the period under review. This will not only bring significant increase in our GDP rate, but also good source of empowerment for the youth. The study recommended that government and NGOs should adopt measures that will revolve around supporting women and youth. This will thereby increase gainful engagement in the country. Community youth leaders hold great potential to bring nutrition service to the vulnerable who are likely to have malnutrition, and their capacity to carry out this work should therefore be strengthened. We are ready to partner with AfriCAN and want to work with you to join the fight against malnutrition. We believe in our potential to build a better Africa, given the right space and tools. Thank you so much.
Now, it is very important we take the message that the youth has just presented to us. And Tijan, you are speaking for all the youth in Africa, and I applaud you for your efforts. Now, I want to go to our next presenter, Dr. Joshua Dion, who is the former Director, Food Security and Sustainable Development Division, UNECA, and a board member of AfriCAN. Now, Joshua, you tell me, as a former division of UNECA, they initiated the Cause for Hunger studies. And with your background in agricultural economics, how do you think the importance of nutrition to socio-economic development can be promoted at the community level? Thank you.
Thank you, and good afternoon to you all. It's a pleasure to bring the economic perspective to the work of AfriCAN. We all know that malnutrition imposes very high costs on African economies. The negative impacts of malnutrition on health and education reduce significantly both the quantity and the quality of the human capital, and therefore reduce the productivity, the production, and the income of African countries at individual level, at community level, and national level. For example, the cost of hunger studies that Francis just mentioned, carried in 21 African countries, has estimated the cost of child undernutrition alone to be to the tune of $30 billion a year. That is equivalent to 2 to 16% of the GDP or the national income of the concerned countries. That's higher than the economic growth that we get on macroeconomic level. African countries can and should avoid losing so much of their potential income by tapping the abundant and underutilized resources available, and those include land and water, include knowledge, technical capacities, technologies and inputs, both traditional, indigenous, and modern. And should tap also on the young people following just the commitment of the youth representative who just talked. We know that young population is eager to learn, to connect, and to undertake and innovate. And in addition, one of the critical underutilized resources of Africa, as it has been said already, is the viable and resilient community level based organizations and institutions. We also have to highlight that investment in nutrition interventions is very profitable. It's one of the kinds of investment that is most profitable in Africa. Can you imagine a rate of return of 16 to 1, meaning that for every $1 invested in improving nutrition, we get $16 in return. Africa's leaders have expressed a strong political will to end malnutrition through different declarations of resolutions and commitments at the highest level. But this political will needs to be translated into real impact and outcomes at the community level and individual level through, first, bold public sector level action at crafting and implementing nutrition sensitive policies along the value chains of food products throughout the agri-food system, including in research and extension, production, trade, storage, transport, processing, and marketing. But in addition to that, which is at the national policy level, we need to advocate for empowering and mobilizing communities through nutrition-oriented education, including training and extension, information, bringing in the media, and direct support like access to resources, targeted subsidies, and so on and so forth, so that those communities and individuals will be enabled to seize the opportunities created by a nutrition-sensitive policy environment to produce, to commercialize, to consume nutritious and healthy food. And this is what AfriCAN will commit to do and to advocate for. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Joshua Dion. It's great to know that indeed Africa needs to do certain things to rise up and be a force to reckon with. Now, I want to move on to our third presenter. And our third presenter is Madam Julia Tagriwhi, the former Director, Food and Nutrition Council of Zimbabwe and Director of AfriCAN. Now, Julia, tell me, as a public health nutritionist and advocate over the years, decades in fact, what do you think has been the missing link in bridging the gap between policy and action at the community level?
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for that question, Francis. In my 40 years experience in the public nutrition field, I honestly believe that effective engagement with communities affected by malnutrition from the onset maybe is key. There are examples where this has happened, but it's not happened long enough. We need to engage communities even in the policy-making process. Communities have indigenous knowledge, practices, that have produced well-nourished children. In spite of the gloom and doom, we talk about 30% stunting, 40%. Even in some areas, a bit 50%, still more than 50% of African children are well-nourished. They're okay. Do we know why? They're coming from the same community. Have we bothered to learn enough about what those families or mothers are doing that we can build on? I think for me, that is an underutilized resource. As Isatu mentioned earlier, our people have a lot of indigenous knowledge, which perhaps our researchers and even our practitioners, in our quest to do good, we mean well, we meant well, I include myself in a hurry to fix those that were malnourished, we did not pay too much attention to what was there. What was already there that was making family X have well-nourished children in the same community, same environment, but somehow their children are okay. Yes, there is room for blending new science, new knowledge with indigenous practice so that we can accelerate faster. But I think we've done ourselves a great disservice by not looking at what we have and building on it, using whatever the new science we have learned over the years. And I believe the other underutilized resource that probably is also delayed. And as AfriCAN, I think we're looking to see how we can facilitate making that distance between community and policy shorter. There are people there are stakeholders who are the interface with communities on a daily basis. And unfortunately, the burden of talking about nutrition or sharing whatever nutrition information or knowledge we have has largely fallen on the health sector. And they've carried the burden. But there are other stakeholders that are out there interfacing with the community whom we need to more effectively nutritionalize, such that not only do they see their role in nutrition, but embrace it and mainstream it into their mandates such that it's not an add-on. It's not like a pimple that has grown on your nose and somehow, yes, it's there, it wasn't meant to be there. But they embrace it as part and parcel of what they do as their normal day-to-day work. And I think we've not been as effective. I think the fact that now we're talking of nutrition-sensitive agriculture, that's a good beginning. But we have other stakeholders we need to reach out to, the traditional leaders, we have the education sector, we have stakeholders in local government, parliamentarians, for example, community-based organizations, including faith-based organizations. We have paid lip service to engage in them, but I think our communities are engaging with so many different stakeholders, local businessmen. What role can they play? If we can effectively engage these stakeholders and sectors that are closer to the community, perhaps the pipeline from policy and strategy to community can be shortened. And it is honestly my belief that this can happen. And as one of the goals of AfriCAN is to have nutrition literate communities. Communities that are able to make informed decisions and choices about the nutrition of their family, so that we no longer talk of malnourished, or we no longer talk of nutrition campaigns that are supposed to educate everybody. I mean, I was reflecting on the developed world, Europe and America. You don't hear of mass nutrition education campaigns, largely because a lot of their population through the education system and so on are aware, reasonably aware. They can make informed choices. We need to be at a place where our communities are knowledgeable enough about nutrition, the role they can play, because they're the first nutritionists. Some of us had to study 4 or 5 years but the first nutritionist is the mother and the father in the home. Some of them actually know what to do, but a lot maybe don't. And it is my belief that bridging that, narrowing that gap between the well-meant policies, Africa is so abound. And I really get a bit fed up when I hear we need more political commitment. It's there. After all, we, the technicians, are the ones who make our leaders sign these things. Translating them, operationalizing them. Whose job is that? Is it the president to operationalize Malabo? They are there, we have to action them. But at the same time, our communities may not even be aware of these good intentions that their countries or their governments have in store in terms of uplifting their food security and nutrition. So I believe effective engagement of communities as partners around the table, where we also learn from them embrace the good indigenous knowledge and practices that may exist, and have a hybrid with new modern thinking, new research and new information that is continuously emerging. So I believe in a nutshell, a more effective community engagement from the onset may help bridge that gap much faster.
Thank you so much, Madam Julia. A speech steeped in experience. Great. Now, the next person I'm going to call, I know if I give her 1 hour, she has so much to share with us, but she has only got 5 minutes. I want to call on Dr. Habiba Hassan Wasef. She's an independent expert in health and nutrition policy, in sustainable development, and also a trustee of the African Nutrition Society. Habiba, 5 minutes. Tell us something. But the question I want to ask you is,
yes,
how can interdisciplinary research and training help in addressing the continent's nutrition challenges? And what is the role of communities in research? Research for solutions to the problem, research without money, feedback from communities, and how students can do research. Habiba, please, over to you. Thank you.
thank you. Your announcement was a warning to keep to the 5 minutes. You have turned the role of academia to start with the community. How can the community help academia? And I think one important fact that Julia just insisted on, that communities already have knowledge, and that it's up to academia to build on that knowledge, not to ignore it. So let me just go to some basics. Academia main role is education, learning, research, and training. Now, in order to understand the community, they need to be working with the community. And what Francis just said, made to the 2005, the year 2005, I will mention in that year, there was a declaration from a nutrition conference in Durban that said that nutrition is not only a metabolism and biochemical issue, but it has environment, social, education, environment, and all the disciplines and factors that are related to nutrition are in there. So if academia wants to help the communities to improve their nutrition, they have to look into their curricula. The curriculums have to be revised to be interdisciplinary. The curriculum itself has to be interdisciplinary. Research in nutrition, since quite a number of years now, I've been working on that in research programs since 2007. And all proposals for research asked for the research teams to be interdisciplinary. The nutrition improvements cannot happen alone. And as a medical person, I'd like always to mention health and nutrition and not nutrition, because we eat not to survive, but to grow, to develop, and to be active members of the population, of the community. So in curriculum development, Many universities and academia have already integrated disciplines or the teaching of other disciplines in nutrition courses. And vice versa, teaching of nutrition in other disciplines. And I have always talked, I'm trying to identify that institution and that university in Ghana that already applies this. Usually what happens is after you graduate and specialize in nutrition, you go back and learn something else. Now, why is this important? It is terribly important because unless you know what the other sectors can give nutrition and what you can ask the other sector in order to improve nutrition, there is no success in just simple, what we say, coordination. Everybody does his own business and then on paper, they contribute to the same goal, but it is not coordination. Because, for instance, if I go into a community and all the children are malnourished, and the only reason was that the source of water was polluted. It had nothing to do with nutrition, it had nothing to do with food, the food was there, everything was there, but they had repeated diarrhea and malnutrition. So that is terribly important to know. The other fact, which I started with, is that the knowledge that the community has. Now, I think in what I heard about AfriCAN and what I know till now about AfriCAN, is that AfriCAN can be the interface between the community and academia. Under the baobab, when the community is invited to storytelling and talking and discussing of issues, then they would be discussing a problem. It's up to academia to research that problem and find a science-based solution and then communicate with the community in order to improve matters. Now, what we have discovered in analyzing research in nutrition over the past decade was that the community did not accept very much solutions coming from academia, and we went around this issue by involving the community in research teams. And I hope that through AfriCAN, we can improve and increase on this issue. The community has become a very important partner in research teams. Now, with academia and research institutions, they have the intellectual capacity, they have the skills and the credibility, and they can be resources for the community. So I count on AfriCAN to mobilize and activate all the resources of academia to service the community. I would like here, this is unending, as Francis said, I can go on and on. I would like to speak about the role of academia, both the academia and community, in valorizing Africa's food resources in the fight for improving hunger and getting rid of hunger and all forms of malnutrition in a sustainable manner. Now, unfortunately, not all African countries know what their people are eating. We call them food-based dietary guidelines that are based on a research, comprehensive research on all food resources in a country. Now, it was discovered lately that not all African countries have that, and that there are many countries that don't know what is really what is being consumed. So if I want to maximize Africa's resources, I have to know them. And this as a research program for the local universities in a country. Not all countries have done it. South Africa has practically completed it. Other countries in the north have practically completed it, and many other African countries have done that. But we need first to do that. The other thing, if we want to eat African and consume our own African resources, especially in the interruption of the food supply chains, the Ukraine war, etc., and all what we are going to suffer in the future, we need to develop a partnership with the food industry, food processing industry, a win-win relation with the food industry. And this can be done also through research and innovation. It is.
Your time is up.
My time is up.
How fast?
Well, let me just maybe conclude or make a remark on that nutrition starts with me. There is one person who was not on the list, and these are the mothers. The mothers who are responsible for feeding their children. Good nutrition starts also with the mothers. Thank you.
We could go on, and there is so much you can share with us in your years of experience. But we have to just dangle the bait before our listeners. We'll soon be finishing because we give just a 1 hour. I want to now give opportunity for a message from a partner in the person of Dr. Laoli Cole, who is the Executive Director, Coalition on Media Education for Development, African Forum, CAFO. So Dr. Cole, please share your perspective and give us the message. Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator. And first of all, I want to bring you very warm greetings from the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And we at CAFO, which is the Coalition Media and Education for Development, Africa Forum, which is housed with the Department of Education, Science, Technology, and Innovation of the African Union. We are very delighted to be at this historic event today, which is the launching of AfriCAN on this Wednesday, the 25th of May, which we are also celebrating here in Addis Ababa and around the world, and as Africa Day. This launch also coincides with the launching, with the designation of the year 2022 as the African Union Year of Nutrition and Food Security, under the theme Strengthening Resilience in Nutrition and Food Security on the African Continent, and also sub-themes which read as Strengthening Agro-Food Systems, Health and Social Protection Systems for the Acceleration of Human, Social and Economic Capital Development. As part of the long-term vision set out in our Agenda 2063, the Assembly of Heads of States and Government of the African Union adopted several common African aspirations, drawing on the potential of Africa's populations, in particular human capital, well-nourished citizens, and in good health, with a specific emphasis on women, adolescents, and children. Indeed, human capital is vital for development, as it leads to improved lives for individuals, higher earnings, and improved incomes for countries. Africa's population is now estimated at 1.3 billion, and it is the fastest urbanizing population around around the world. Therefore, we have the fastest urbanizing continent, I should put it that way, with more than 2.6. The large youth population presents a potential demographic dividend that would accelerate sustainable and equitable development if adequately leveraged with suitable investment. I think Mr. Sheikh Jan Tunka alluded to this point earlier. So therefore, we understand, as we understand, AfriCAN's mission to mobilize and harness Africa's untapped and underutilized resources to improve nutrition sustainability on the continent. Therefore, we at CAFOR, we are very positive that Africa's initial focus on education sector as an underutilized resources is in the right direction. I am pleased here to announce that CAFOR and AfriCAN has actually established a partnership and which has resulted in a working group on nutrition and education. And this is expected to shine the light on nutrition and education during our children's formative years, through adolescence and young adulthood, in order to ensure that it is context-based and fit for the purpose. The CAFOR and AfriCAN partnership's priority is to create an enabling environment for promoting the nutrition agenda within the education sector. As nutrition is crucial to our continent's social, economic, and overall development, we will further work to ensure that it continues to be a priority in policies and strategies at the African Union. This year, which is the year of nutrition for 2022, the nutrition year for 2022, we will work also to ensure that we have more political commitments and investments in nutrition to address the ongoing nutrition challenges. We will continue to work with our member states and all our partners to increase accountability in food security and nutrition to advance human capital development in the African continent. With my very best wishes for the success of this partnership with AfriCAN, using our resources simultaneously as we develop and strengthen innovative partnerships with our friends and partners around the world. So we wish you the very best, and we're looking forward to very, very fruitful cooperation and collaboration in the area of nutrition and education. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Laoli Cole, for your encouragement for us. I now want to give opportunity to Professor Catherine Bettini, who was the former WFP Executive Director, a chairperson of GAIN, to just give us a 1-minute comment. Thank you for coming on this, Professor Bettini.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I want to congratulate all of those involved in creating AfriCAN. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful idea based on the grassroots. As speakers have said, we talk a lot about policy and commitment and everything, but really we have to reach the people. And you are doing that through this concept. I applaud the leadership of Dr. Ngongi, Dr. Jallo, and everyone who's been participating. And I know all the rest of the nutrition world that you've been a part of for so long is applauding your approach, this initiative, and looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Bettini. I now want to give opportunity to Callistus John, an advocate, an AU advocate. Over to you, Callistus.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, senior and junior colleagues. On my experience as the Partnership for Aflatoxin Control in Africa, the AU PACA, I think I have learned. Let me just start from here. National, regional, continental actions for nutrition and food security in Africa remain the call for concern. We need to reflect national and regional policy support, investment financing, as well as institutional and human capacity development at all levels. I think we are having the challenges. I think one of the speakers mentioned about commitment. But are we holding our head of state, our government accountable of the commitment? There's a lot of literature at the level of strategy, how to capture, how to fight for the, like 2025. I'm telling you that we will not be able to achieve ending hunger in Africa by 2025. Because of our commitment, the member countries have not translated their commitment into practical actions. They have not mobilized domestic resources to invest in transforming or translating into action. So we need to change the narrative, the way we look at things, the way we take commitment. It's preferable not to take too much commitment and you don't achieve them, but we can take one commitment if we say yes, we can achieve it. I think the initiative of AfriCAN, I think it's a very good initiative, because to achieve this, I think the load is too heavy for Africa Union alone. I think we need other initiatives like this one, so that we can the ship can better move, because advocacy need a lot of noise, but not just noise. It need constructive noise. And I think AfriCAN are people like Prof. We know you well, that we have been working too, hand in hand. I think with people like Ezato and Dr. Ngongi, I think it's a very good initiative. Let us pray for wisdom. I wish all the members, the founder, all the best. I will always be there anytime to support. When you concern Africa, you don't need to invite me, I will be there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd have given a chance to Professor Paul Amuna if he's on, but we really have run out of time. Is Paul on? Okay. We'll go on to the next session, but before I bring in the board chair for AfriCAN, I have been listening to all of you, and Africa is steeped in proverbs. What I hear is the sound of abundance of rain, and we are rising up to make a difference. And I have no doubt that Africa is truly rich in resources to provide its citizens with the basic needs, including adequate nutrition. And I am positive that Africans believe that the resources available in our continent have been unutilized. We'll continue the discussion under the baobab tree. But to do that, what I want to do is to give opportunity for Dr. Namanga Ngongi to launch AfriCAN and give his closing remarks. Dr. Ngongi.
Thank you very much, Francis. Thank you so much. I very much enjoyed the discussions that have gone on, and I think I can say very clearly that we all in AfriCAN thank very much all the participants who have taken part in this launching event. So it is my distinct pleasure to declare that AfriCAN has been launched, is hereby launched, and can now go to work, so that we can contribute towards the improvement of the nutritional status. As a second note, as a second note, in keeping with our African traditions of having good and meaningful discussions under trees, I hereby declare and launch the baobab tree platform for discussions on nutrition and to how we are share knowledge to improve our nutritional status in Africa. So I thank everybody for having taken part, and I declare that the AfriCAN is launched, and the baobab tree forum platform is also launched.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ngongi, and we would want to bring our session to a close. And it's refreshing, encouraging to know that AfriCAN has come to stay. AfriCAN will make an impact, not only in this generation, but in the next generation. We want to empower the youth to wake up, to rise up, and take their destiny in their own hands. Going forward, AfriCAN will establish a multidisciplinary network of dedicated African experts and champions who are committed to contribute their expertise and skills to improving nutrition to the continent. To this end, you will advocate, build bridges, strengthen capacity, and improve accountability at all levels. We therefore invite you to come on board and be part of the network. Please, no holds barred. We need all of you. And having launched Under the Baobab Tree, this is a platform for advocacy, knowledge sharing, and consensus building, and the promotion of local actions and innovations for sustained nutrition improvement. We need you on board to make that difference. So we want you to join the network. Together, we can make it work. Thank you very much for your time. Congratulations to Africa. Thank you. I really want to congratulate all the developers. I want to congratulate the ANH for persisting with us and staying on to facilitate this. I want to thank all those who gave their perspectives. Thank you very much. The list goes on and on. And I want to thank you for staying on. Thank you.
The African Affirmation.
Thank you.